Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a collaboration with fellow raid YouTuber Kizzle. I will put a link to his channel down in the video description if you want to check him out. We're just going to be kind of having a casual discussion about, farming the campaign, getting to the end game, what new players should prioritize, what champions are good at it, when to do what, who to invest in, what stats are kind of required to do good, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, and here we are. I am actually joined by a fellow raid extraordinaire. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's up, everybody? It's Kizzle. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been playing raid and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've been on raid since probably March, and I played Star Wars Galaxy, Age of Magic, for that, and kind of climbed my way through raid a little bit. Kind of got to the game and started messing around with some YouTube videos with some of my guild mates, kind of just showing them a thing or two. They asked me some questions. How do I get my CB damage up? I did like an unlisted video on YouTube or something and link it to them. And then finally somebody was like, man, you should just start publishing these because they're good. There's good talking points. There's good information in them. And that was about maybe 40 days ago, maybe 30. So pretty new to the YouTube scene. But,
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your experience playing raid? How long have you played? Did you start like back before like the Sir Nicholas fusion and all that, or?
I came in like the week after Sir Nicholas, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Which was when?
I think that was in January or February.
Okay.
I came in right before they did the Shamrock fusion.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I think you came, a few months before me. I think I came like April 1st, basically, like right around there, or like the end of March.
I was probably very late February, very early March, somewhere in there. But
okay,
and, when I came in, there was certainly some folks that were playing, but the only way folks got knowledge on the game was really by going to Reddit. And Bade, who's also Zentago, he would write these novels of information.
I remember those.
Just novels. Like you don't even know. Like you couldn't even imagine how this dude wrote something for that long.
I remember. Yeah, I remember those guides.
Yeah, I remember reading through them and being like, man, there's got to be a better way.
That's
gotta get some YouTubers out here making some content.
I think every new player has stumbled across those walls of texts.
They're good. The guy put a lot.
Your mic cut out. Your mic cut out for like 1 second there again.
Did it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why, but it's okay. I'll just let you know when it happens. But yeah. Okay. So what I wanted to do was kind of talk about the campaign farming strategy and what new players should know going into it, and I'll kind of show. I actually use Bellower. Who do you use as a campaign farmer?
I use Skullcrown.
Oh, okay, so, Skullcrown.
Not the most free to play or early game friendly one, but Skullcrown, she gets the job done. So she's a 7-second campaign farmer all day.
And she never fails, right? It's 7 seconds every time, right?
No, she slips sometimes. Honestly, I think Queen Eva probably has the most consistent, 7-second runs. And I have Queen Eva. I just haven't really put the time into her. But Skull Crusher for me it kind of does both because I have her my best crit and crit damage gear. Mm-hmm. So she's also a must-have for me in the arena. So moving all that around, I don't mind a 13 or 20-second run.
Yeah. The only thing that's rough about using your campaign farmer in the arena is you have to have so much speed. Like if you use somebody just for the campaign, you can afford to put attack percent boots on instead of speed.
And I actually have attack boots on Skullcrown, and the way I get around that in the arena is with the turn meter boot Arbiter.
Yeah. And
so she goes last, unfortunately, but she still usually goes before everybody else.
Well, that's good. You want your nuker to go last, so that's fine. Yeah. And the amount of times you're gonna run into somebody that's like ridiculously overpowered and actually beats your nuker to going first when you have Arbiter and like a good turn meter setup is pretty rare.
Yeah, that's very rare.
But it is just something for newer players to consider. If you're gonna use somebody, you got to really pick what main stat goes on your boots. So, what are your stats on your Skullcrown? I'm curious as to how good her multipliers are, like attack and crit damage.
Let me pull her up real quick. 'Cause actually, I'm sitting in front of it. Let's see. So her attack is 1,500 plus 2,500, so 4,000. Crit rate's 100%, and crit damage is 60% plus 180. So 240.
Yeah, that's redonkulous. That's really good.
I mean, she can crit for 90k AOE in the arena.
And what does she crit on that last wave? You know how there's like a Lord Shazar when you're farming.
Yeah.
What does she crit him for?
Ooh, that's a good question. I can look.
Because then we can compare. Because my Bellower crits Lord Shazar like for 20k.
Okay.
And so in the speed farming meta for campaign, usually it comes down to farming stage 12-3. And when you're farming stage 12-3, the Lord Shazar on wave 3 is what always gets people. Like he barely survives, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you need to do about 19,500 damage on him to kill him. He has like 19,000 something for HP.
Yeah. So if I usually crit him for 22,000.
Okay, my Bellower is usually about 20.
Okay.
And one thing worth noting when you're doing this is it will vary, like 10 to 15%. So if you're like, oh, okay, I crit him for 20k, well, the next time you might crit him for 18k and he'll survive. Because there is a little bit of a window there for the so it's just something to note. You might want to get up to like 21, 22 in order to get that 19.5 every time and be consistent. But so how did you, when you were developing your account, who did you use?
I used Executioner in the beginning. And then I got pretty lucky. I used Executioner, but honestly, I did campaign farming. I did him through campaign. And I got really lucky. I pulled Kymar and Battle Khazar when I was still farming, when I was still trying to get through campaign, I had both of them. So I immediately went to Kymar at that point. And Kymar cannot do a 7-second run, unfortunately, because he'll sit there and he'll do his A3, which resets his cooldowns.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a very effective, at getting through the campaign, and then frankly at campaign farming. I mean, so I had him in the beginning, and then I ran him for a bit. He was really more 20-second, 25-second runs, and then I came into using Skull Crown once I pulled her.
And how did you use Executioner back when he was like broken, overpowered, or post nerf?
I used them both, and honestly, I never pushed back an Executioner after he got nerfed. I still thought he was really good. Between the counterattack and his I think his AoE ability is called like Shitron or something.
It's like Shillatron.
Yeah. I mean, they were both pretty good, and I built him in lifesteal gear and focused on his crit rate, and he was very effective. I mean, the only area where he had a really hard time was, I think, his Hallowed Halls, number 11. And that's because you just run into so many force affinities there. So, and on Hallowed Halls, the one thing I've heard that people do is they bring in Jizo, who, that's a free-to-play epic. So people bring in Jizo to get through Hallowed Halls, and then when you get back to Brimstone Path, Executioner worked really well for me there too.
Yeah. And what was the time? Probably like 40 seconds.
With Executioner, I mean, I really wasn't using Executioner to farm campaign in the way that most folks would. I was really more using him to kind of get through campaign, and then luckily I pulled Battle Khazar and I pulled Kymar. So I didn't really spend a lot of time actually trying to sit there and like level food with Executioner.
Yeah, because by then you had Skull Crown.
Exactly.
So you were getting through the campaign and then switched to like speed farming with Skull Crown.
Yeah.
Okay, I went as a new player. I picked Galek, and I
did too. Unfortunately, right?
Yeah, exactly. we all did, and and then I realized Kale was the way to go. But I, as a new player, I rushed to fuse Relic Keeper because I thought, like, oh my god, his aura is 40% for the campaign, and he's epic, and he'll tear it up. But in hindsight, I wish I would have just done like one of the magic affinities besides Gilek, like Aethel or Kale or even Elaine. Like they can all do the the last stage pretty effectively because they're all magic.
Oh yeah, yeah. Relic Keeper. I think that's kind of what Plarium wanted him to, right? Was to be a campaign champion. I made the same mistake, and I fused him early on, and I kind of thought he was going to be like my way of clearing campaign, and I quickly replaced him with the Executioner that I already had. So
Yeah,
he was pretty worthless.
Yeah, he's too slow because he has to run up and hit, and then run all the way back, and then run up and hit, and then run all the way back. So even like a GG Relic Keeper is gonna take like 40 or 50 seconds. Like it's just how it works.
Yeah, that part's unfortunate, because I mean, what you really need to have a day, you need to have on the, or you need to have counterattack, and if you have counterattack like Executioner has, that's where his kit kind of works for him, because he can come in, he can hit really hard with that AoE, he counterattacks himself, and then he can clear out some folks with his counterattacks, and he's keeping himself up the entire time. But I mean, if you were going to go for an actual speed campaign, I don't think either one of those is going to get you there. I think you really got to go, you got to buy void packs until you get Bellower, or I've actually seen Fellhound very effectively, but in good gear. But I've seen him very effectively speed campaign farm. Or if you're watching this video before you roll, roll Aethel, roll Elhain, roll Kale. Just don't roll Gaelic.
Yeah.
He's not going to help you.
for new players, there is no discussion. Like pick Kale. Like he's just the best. Like there's no argument. Like it used to be Aethel before they nerfed Weaken. For those who don't know, Weaken used to affect your poisons and make them do more damage against the clan boss. But now, since they changed that, Kale is just hands down the best. So I think we're both in agreement that you should develop your starter and just get them to 6-star ASAP, unless on the path to getting to 6-star, you pull someone like Skullcrown or Bellower. It is worth noting that Bellower has to have crazy gear to like farm the campaign better than your starter. Because
Bellower and Fellhound.
You have to be at like 3,500 plus attack and like 100% crit rate and 150 plus crit damage, which people who don't have a 6-star champion yet, it's going to be almost impossible to get to those thresholds.
Yeah, no, that's completely true. And the one thing I try to tell folks is, I mean, being free to play is, I'm not free to play, so it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around it. To think like a free to play player would think. But if you're going to spend money on the game, the leveling packs are really probably the best value to date. And hopefully, I mean, Kale's the best starter hero, and you can do great things with Kale. You can speed farm pretty effectively with Kale. But if you're open to being a little bit free to play, or pay to play rather, those leveling packs are really good, and hopefully you pull a champion that can farm for you in them. Almost anyone that has AoE is going to be able to do that.
So the best rares would be Kale, Elaine, Aethel, Bellower. Are there any other ones that are good? Executioner.
I would say Fellhound,
the Void rare.
Yep. Outside of that,
it starts to get pretty murky.
Gilek
could probably do it as a 6-star. But not as optimal as the other ones. And then in terms of epics, what ones do you think are the best to focus on if you pull them?
I mean, if you pull Skullcrown, that's the one right there. Outside of that, I'd have to think about it a bit. Oh well, Sylar I think would actually be good.
Has anybody actually tested Sylar in terms of? Because I wonder, you have to be wary because I don't know how hard her A1 hits. I haven't 6-starred her,
Yeah, I have her 6-starred. It hits pretty hard. I mean, she's not going to be incredible, but if she's the best epic you have, I think she's going to definitely outrun like Kale. Sure.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, and then Senesha can also do it. Zargala.
Yeah. Zargala is great because on her, I think it's her A2, she does that hit that she incredibly hard, and then she can AoE after that.
Yep.
Outside of that,
Zargala can be a 15 to 20 second campaign farmer in the end game. Same with Senesha, 15 to 20 second. Relic Keeper's like a 40 to 45. Nezana, I don't. Does her A1 hit hard enough?
I mean, if you have good gear, I put her right in there, like, with the right gear, it can.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried Nezana yet.
And her A1 and her A3 both AoE.
Yeah.
So she goes through her, her cooldowns like most of these, champions do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I have that going for her.
Yep. And so yeah, if you're a new player and your goal is to farm the campaign, when do you think you should worry about 3-starring like all the levels, or just like rushing through it, or should you 3-star as you go, or come back and do it? What do you think?
It's a really good question. I luckily for me, I ended up pulling some really good champions. 3-star can be really challenging. The thing I would say is any really good combination of blue and yellow that you get. So I've heard a lot of folks say that pulling Kale and then using Jizo, because you get Jizo, I think, on your 3rd week of playing, and that Kale and Jizo can actually 3-star the entire game. I haven't seen that personally, but I have seen guides that basically say that. So if you have to go down that route, hopefully you pull some really good champs and you're able to kind of blow through it. But for me, it's worth your time to make campaign your initial focus. And I would completely 3-star campaign before you really start getting too hyped up on like speed runs for food and whatnot. I mean, your runs aren't going to be as fast as you'd probably like them to be. But that's how I would order it. I would completely clear campaign on 3 stars, and I'd start focusing on, seeing what champions you have at that point in time and who's going to be your best fit for speed runs.
Yep, I agree completely with everything you said. Your goal as a new player should be to get to a point where you clear the entire campaign, and you can always come back in 3-star levels from previous. So just farm at the highest level you can until brutal is ridiculously easy for you, and then go back and get all your 3-stars, unless you need like one more for a legendary book or something or whatever. But like,
yeah,
you should be focusing on XP solely until you're like level 50, like until your account is like late game. You should be just getting XP.
And one thing I tell folks a lot, and this is the most tedious thing in the world, I've done it myself on an account, and it was kind of like, it was disturbing how much I hated it. But if you go through hallowed halls beginning, get to whatever you can farm hallowed halls on, you get executioner in the beginning, and then if you just sit there and you continuously do hallowed halls and you pull multiple executioners, he's a worthless champion until you book him. But if you use himself and the dupes you get of him to book him, that's not a bad strategy. I mean, I would personally use auto clicker to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of beating your head against the wall. But you can set yourself up from day one to have some success in the campaign by booking him out, getting his skills maxed out very quickly by just farming hallowed halls until you get multiple executioners. And that's if you have no intent on spending money and seeing what sort of heroes that you can get. That's not a bad free-to-play strategy.
Yeah, it would take a while for a free-to-play because he's about 1% to drop. So you're talking probably 1,000 runs of hallowed halls to max an executioner out. But it is good if you are free to play. If you don't want to spend money on skill books, that is a good way to get a max level Magic Affinity champion to farm stage 12. And you do want to farm stage 12 if you can, 11 or 12 depending on your affinity. Like, it's better to farm the end of normal than like the beginning of hard.
Yep.
So yeah, stick with normal until you can farm the end of hard, and then stick with the end of hard until you can farm the end of brutal. Like, I farmed 11-3 on hard for like a month before I even pushed into brutal.
Another thing that I did it a little bit differently, and say which, but I farmed the lifesteal gear, I farmed the crit gear. And even if I could get a little bit more XP, I still did Dunham before I did Voldemort straight. And that's the other nice aspect about Voldemort straight is if you go through that and the executioner grind, hopefully you walk out of it with some really good lifesteal gear.
Yeah.
But if you can get some good primary stats, I mean, if you were to farm stage 6 on boots until you got speed or attack, and then stage 4 for the gloves until you got crit, that would be an effective use of your time, even if you lost a little bit of XP along the way, but to focus on those really good gear sets, because in the beginning of the game, they are a massive game changer.
Yeah, I completely agree. On the way, like in your first couple weeks, you should definitely be farming for those main stats in the important levels, even if it means sacrificing the XP. Yeah, so I agree with that.
And I don't know if you want to push into this at all, but
that's fine.
I get a lot of questions with people asking, like, when do I start dungeons?
Yeah.
I always tell folks, clear brutal and farm out your first decent set in Voldemort Strait and Palace of Arabia for the speed gear, Durham Forest or Felwyn's Gate for crit or for accuracy. Get some good gear out of that, and then go worry about dungeons.
Yep.
That way you can actually take a nice chunk out of dungeons.
Yeah, I think you should only be doing dungeons to complete like an easy to accomplish mission or challenge. You shouldn't be like farming hundreds of spider until you're like smashing brutal. This should be the last thing you do, kind of.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of campaign, 3-star campaign, and then people always ask, like, when do I do Mino? When do I do Spider? When do I do dragons? Like, man, after you're in decent 5-star gray gear from farming campaign, and you got a good team of 5 to take into those into those dungeons, and really until you're ready for it. And then Mino's probably maybe the better place to start in the beginning, depending on what your comp is and what your setup is, and at least get some of those initial masteries in there, and then start going for Dragon's really the big one.
Once you can farm Minnow 14 is a pretty good spot to start getting your masteries. And yeah, I would say the same thing. Campaign until you can do Minnow 14, and then Minnow, and then you can kind of do your challenges and focus on your missions after that, and kind of sprinkle in some dungeons. But until you have like 6 or 7 6-star champions, you should really be focusing on solely campaign and Minnow when you can do 14.
Absolutely. And I do think it's smart in the beginning, like to not do too much Minnow, but I think it's okay to go history. And if you have an attack based hero, I do think it's smart to go ahead and get that 75 attack instead of the 5% crit rate, because that scales very well in the beginning for an attack based hero.
Yeah, no, you should definitely do a couple runs of the Minotaur. I just meant don't like grind it until you can.
Oh, no. Yeah, just a couple. Just get that first mastery.
Yep.
Get about it until you 14,
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, no, so we're getting pretty close to 20-something minutes now, so I don't want to keep you forever. Is there?
Oh, man. Yeah.
But I appreciate you hanging out with me and doing a video. Is there anything you wanted to shout out or say at the end here?
No, man. I mean, I appreciate you having me. Hopefully we can do it's a really good community. I think that's a lot of what kind of kept me motivated to do videos is, if I can jump into your stream and have some fun, talking trash and having a good time, and then I can I can try to figure out how to fix my microphone and message Darth, and he's like, all right, man, hold on a minute, let me get on Skype. Stu calls me up from Japan, talking about all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, your mic was cutting out a little bit, like once a minute. I would lose a couple words, but hopefully it's not too bad. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know why that's happening. I guess ask Darth.
Darth. Yeah, I'll ask Darth. We'll figure it out. So
cool. All right. Well, and again, I will put a link to your channel down in the description for people that want to check you out. And
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So thanks for hanging out with me, and take it easy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Peace.
All right.